Alright, guys, welcome back to the pod, back to Theory and Theology. We're back here with this topic surrounding the ABC model and, some of Dolores Cannon's teachings based on the theories about why we've come to Earth and trying to get things right based on some patterns that may or may not go well for us. I tried to give an example yesterday, and I don't know how well it worked. And I could give another example that I don't know if it's the same. Let me see. Sorry, I'm kind of rearranging a little bit of my notes. But let's see. Okay. So, remember we talked about the ABC model, activating stressful event, beliefs for the B, C is consequences, which are the results, like the behaviors, the actions, and then there was the D and the E, which was basically, I don't remember what the D stands for. It's kind of like a deconstructive type of process. That's not the wording they use. Let me actually find the wording they use. Sorry, I didn't open this before. Okay, so ABC model. Bear with me here, please. Alright, so I've got that worksheet back up. So, yeah, disputation of beliefs, that's the word I was looking for, and effective new beliefs. And so, if I look at an event that I'm reflecting on from, let's say, I think it was Friday. So Friday, I was having an experience with my anxiety that I did not like. So I had been driving around town, and I felt, I was doing deliveries, and then around, making some cash, and then around 10:30, maybe 11, I was like, I want to pop into the library and give myself time at the library. And, while I'm at the library, I was going to look up some books about, like, marketing and things like that. And so I pull into the parking lot, and I'm like, let me make sure I have my wallet. And before I had left that morning, I was kind of like, I don't know how I felt. I think I felt fine and motivated as far as I recall. But I think for breakfast that day, I had like scrambled eggs with like kimchi or something like that. Like, I don't think I had toast. I don't think I had juice. I think I just had scrambled eggs and kimchi. I cannot exactly recall what I ate, but I want to say that's what I ate. It was like a very low sugar meal, just like, vegetables and protein basically. And so I was like, okay, let me stop doing deliveries early so I could go to the library early and take my time and not feel rushed. Because I was like, I don't really need to be making more deliveries. And so, it was probably a little before 11 that I pulled into that parking lot, and I felt I felt mostly fine, but I was like, I could feel my energy kind of decreasing, that I was going to need another meal kind of soon. And because, when I do deliveries, because I'm driving around a lot, and I don't really like the feeling of having to like use the restroom when I'm like, I mean, I'll go to the restroom. I'm not going to just like hold it, but I mean, I'll go to like McDonald's or whatever for the restroom, or places that I know have a restroom where you can just walk in and not really have to like ask anybody about it. Because if I'm doing food deliveries, a lot of times, I'll stop at places that, they have like a bathroom that's just open to use, but sometimes they don't. And so it kind of depends where you're going. Like if you go to like a 7-Eleven, for example, sometimes they don't really have like public restrooms. And so I never really know what the order is going to be. And so sometimes I'm like, I try not to let it get too far past like needing the restroom. So for the reason why I'm mentioning that is because I think I wasn't very hydrated, because I was trying not to have to pull over and keep going to the bathroom and stuff. So I hadn't really hydrated too well. And so I got to the um I got to the to the I don't know what you call it. Like I got to the library parking lot, and I was feeling that. I was like, okay, I have a little bit of enough energy to kind of like get through this library part, but like I could tell my energy was tanking. And before I had left the house, before I had gone to do deliveries, I kind of packed a backpack. I put in there some like water, my wallet. I have this like locking backpack that like, I keep some stuff like lotion, like hand sanitizer, sometimes like just little things, like maybe like a little apple or something, like I just put whatever I think I might need for the next few hours and just like stick it in a backpack and take it with me. And I didn't know if I was like, because when I left the house, I was like, I don't really know if I'm going to feel like actually studying at the library and like staying there for a little while. So I think I brought like a journal or something, I brought like a little bit of stuff with me, like headphones, and like just in case I was going to like stay for like an hour or something. Like I was like, I don't really know. But since I was already out, I was like, I might as well just bring my stuff with me so that I don't have to come home first. And so I was when I was packing my backpack at the house, my backpack fell kind of off my bed and like kind of upside down. And I noticed that. I left it there for a little while I was like finishing getting ready, and then I just kind of quickly zipped up the backpack. I didn't notice anything had fallen out or anything, and then I took it with me, did deliveries. So when I'm sitting at this library parking lot, I'm looking at my backpack and I'm noticing, okay, how I'm feeling, that like my energy is kind of like decreasing a little bit, but I still felt fine enough because I was like, well, I'm already at the library. But something around that time, I started digging through my backpack looking for my library card, and I couldn't find it right away because I had put it in like a little slot close to like the zipper. It had these little pockets, so I didn't just throw it into like the larger part of my backpack. But I thought, because I couldn't find it easily, I was like, dang it, when my backpack fell, since my backpack was open and it fell kind of like with the open part facing the ground, I was like, I probably dropped my library card on my bedroom floor or on my bed when I was like picking up my backpack and zipping it up, and I didn't notice. So my library card probably isn't in here. And at that time, I started feeling really anxious, really stressed. It wasn't necessarily because of the backpack, because of the library card, but I was like, I really wanted to get some books for the weekend, and I can't believe that I don't have my card with me. And, part of me was like, be patient, check your backpack. You didn't really thoroughly check, but I kind of like swiped my hand around in there a little bit, and like I didn't feel it in there, and I didn't visibly see it when I kind of looked. And I knew that I had put it in one of those top pockets, so I was like, I'm not going to look in all the other pockets because is probably not there, and I didn't really see it easily. And so I was like, dang it, I forgot my card. Like, I knew I should have, like, just put it in my wallet, because my wallet was in that backpack. And, because I feel like, I don't know, I'm kind of weird with stuff. I don't want to lose things. Because, when you're popping around from different place to different place, it's easy to, like, drop a wallet or drop your keys or, like, your phone or something. Because you're, like, in and out of the car, in and out of your pockets. Like, I have to carry my phone to tell which orders are coming in and, like, verify with the customer, verify with the restaurant. Like, I have to have my phone on me. So it's very unlikely I'm going to lose my phone because I have to have my phone. But because I'm reaching in and out of my pockets, like, I'm probably not going to lose my keys because I wouldn't be able to get to or from the car without my keys. So I feel like my phone and my wallet, my phone and my keys, I'm not very likely to lose them. But my wallet, I might actually lose it. So I'm like, I'd rather keep my wallet in the backpack, the locked backpack in my car with the backpack kind of like out of public view, because I feel like I'm less likely to lose the backpack, or I'm less likely for someone to like get into my car and rob me and like steal my backpack with my wallet in it versus, being likely to, just accidentally drop it out of my pocket while I'm like going in and out of a restaurant. And I don't need my wallet when I'm doing things. Like, I need it for my car insurance and like my driver's license and all that stuff, but I don't need it because I'm not buying things. I'm just doing delivery. So I need it for my driver's license and stuff, but I don't. And I like to have it for if I need gas or whatever, but I don't need it when I go into these restaurants and stores. I don't need my wallet on me. So I'm like, it's another reason to have my backpack is just to keep my wallet in the car. And so, when I packed my backpack, I didn't put my library card in my wallet. I was just like, well, let me just stick it in the bag, And so at that point, I started feeling anxious. And the drive towards the library was probably about 20-30 minutes. And I was replaying, during that drive, I was replaying this situation of some kind of, I had some socially anxious situation come up the day before with some friends I was hanging out with. And so I noticed I felt kind of anxious that day. Like, they kind of wanted to meet up a little bit beforehand, but we hadn't planned to meet early. So because we hadn't really planned on meeting earlier, I didn't really want to meet early. I was kind of like, well, we didn't plan to meet early, so I'm not going to actually actively go try to meet them early. And so because we hadn't planned that, I didn't plan it to go do it. But they had called me to try to see, hey, we're going to meet early before we go to this event and, kind of like catch up and stuff and chat. And I was kind of like, I remember that day feeling a little bit like I kind of just want to keep to myself until the event. And not that I didn't want to see them, but I kind of was like a little bit like, I don't really know if I really want to catch up that much because I was feeling a little bit insecure, a little bit like anxious about being around people, because I had some stuff in my mind that I hadn't really fully worked out. So that was Thursday. And then so Friday, while I was driving that 20 or so minute distance to the library, I was thinking about kind of replaying that situation, like what was going on, and so I'll say that the thing that happened in my, like, that's the backstory, right? So the activating event was, being at the library parking lot, looking at my backpack, realizing that I didn't have this card. I'll spoil the story and say that I ended up, once I got home, I checked my backpack thoroughly and the card was freaking in there. But I realized I didn't have this card, and I was like, man, like, I don't have the card, you know what I mean? Like, but the library was like on the way. Like, I was so far away from my house that, I was able to drive past the library on my way home. Like, it wasn't out of the way, so I didn't have to go out of my way to drive there. But it would have been out of the way if I had to go home first and then leave the house and then come back out and go to the library. And so, I guess, so the activating event was basically two things. You know, first of all, the kind of insecurity that I was experiencing the day before, that kind of led to some kind of anxiety. But also, I think, you know, blood sugar levels. Like, I feel like my blood sugar was probably low. And so I didn't really put two and two together until probably around 5 or 6 p.m., maybe around 6 p.m. that evening. So I was anxious all day, you know, I got home, let's say, like 11. I ate like a quick little meal. It was like leftover noodles with some like mushrooms and chicken and stuff, a little bit of veggies. But it wasn't like a lot of food. It was like half a bowl of like spiral noodles. It wasn't like a lot. It was kind of like a leftover soup or stew kind of thing, but it wasn't hearty at all. It was pretty light. So I ate that. I felt a little bit better. And then I kind of was like, let me rest and relax because I don't know why I'm so like ramped up. And so I just kept feeling anxious and just like, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was feeling ultra irritable and grouchy and just like really anxious. And I was like, man, like, you know, so it did subside a little bit once I ate, but then it kept like creeping back up again. And, you know, I did some kind of self-care activities, and then I realized that, you know, that wasn't really working. And so I tried to go online onto this like kind of anxiety support, you know, and that, you know, the conversations on there weren't really deep enough for me to really realize what was happening. And I was like, I literally sat in the house like pretty anxious from about 11 o'clock with a little bit of, you know, my mood got a little better when I ate that early kind of lunch around almost 12 by that point. It was after 11 though. And then when I did the self-care activity, you know, maybe for like another hour, I felt okay-ish, like getting there, but not quite okay fully. And then the anxiety started ramping up again. And I was like, man, I do not know why I feel this bad. Like, I felt good this morning. Things were going smooth. I don't know why I feel this bad. Like, it was just a little hard to understand. And so by 6 o'clock, I was still feeling this anxiety. And I was like, you know, it's getting late and, you know, I've been just lounging around in my room all day with this anxiety. Let me just get in the car, drive down the street real quick, find a spot in the shade to just like park and chill and like maybe just people watch and take out my phone and do some journaling on my phone and just like, maybe that will help me. Maybe it'll help me to kind of do some audio journaling. Maybe it'll help me to do some writing and sit in the car comfortably in some shade and have the windows down and have some fresh air coming in, and just like anything's better than just like sitting in the car. I mean, sitting in my bedroom, just kind of like feeling this way, because that was like, it was almost 7 hours I was feeling like that. And I was like, dude, this is such a bad feeling. And I hated it. I was like, because I'm not used to having anxiety like that, like all day. And a day when I wake up and I feel fine and I'm like, all right, time to like get some work done. And like, you know, I had planned to like have some books that I was going to study about marketing when I got home, and I was going to like start doing that for the weekend, and all these plans I had in the morning on Friday. And then it turned out that because of all this anxiety, I was not able to do that. And in my mind, I was like, this is anxiety, like, but it's weird that I have anxiety like this, because I couldn't really figure out what was going on, because I was like, this isn't normal. And I kind of thought, you know, the whole time I was like, man, I'm really anxious about, you know, this situation from the day before, this like social anxiety kind of situation. And I was like, what is it? Like, why am I so anxious? And I couldn't figure out why I was so anxious. Because I'm not usually that anxious about interactions with people, and especially after the fact. It's not like any kind of like really embarrassing thing happened or anything, but in my mind I was like even feeling like embarrassed about something that I don't even know what. Like, I was just kind of like, yeah, I was kind of acting a little bit awkwardly, and I did this kind of awkward kind of handshake kind of thing, and like just little things. It's like, I don't even know why I'm thinking about this. I don't think anybody else cares, you know. Nobody, like, my friends know I'm weird. Like, nobody really cares when I do weird stuff. And I was just kind of like in my head about it, and I was like, it was just weird that I was in my head about it, because, you know, I'm not usually in my head about that kind of stuff to that level. But it took me a while. So, you know, I was in the car, and I'm just like chilling in there, and I'm just like starting to feel a little bit better as I start realizing, you know, I'm like some stuff about that event day. And I was like, okay, like I do have some insecurities around some certain things related to like career right now, and different kinds of like, you know, milestones, like age range milestones, and different stuff like that. Like, I was like, okay, I do feel a little bit of like pressure about some stuff, and maybe that's why I was like so anxious. And I was like, that's some underlying thing that, like, at first I thought it was like I was just embarrassed about some situation, and then I was like, but that's not what this feels like. It feels like something else. And then I also realized not only that, but like it's probably because my blood sugar was just like messed up that day, because I hadn't really eaten, you know, very properly. Like, I ate, but like I'm not used to just like cutting off sugars. Like, I'm not used to just not eating carbs. And that day I had made a conscious decision to try to limit the amount of carbs I was eating and eat smaller meals, which I did. But then I think that backfired, and my blood sugar was low, and then my mind started to spiral because of my blood sugar, and I didn't really put two and two together. So later on, I felt much better in the evening, just knowing like, okay, this is like a blood sugar thing. And I basically spent the whole day just like spazzing out because of I just needed to eat like a big meal, or eat like something, you know, to kind of get the sugar spiked a little bit, you know. Like, I just didn't know. Like, I didn't put two and two together till probably after 6 p.m. that day. And by that time, you know, one of my close friends had called around like 7 p.m. or closer to 8, maybe 7:30 or so, while I was still out in the car down the street. And, you know, we talked, and then I was kind of like, man, like, it was nice to have a conversation with him. But at the same time, I was like, I had been feeling like shit all day long, pretty much, from like 11 o'clock almost until like probably like 6 p.m. or so. I started feeling a little better around 6. And so, taking all that whole thing, you know, I would say the activating event was that, yes, something did happen the day before, and I was a little insecure about it, but I feel like that ramped up because of my low blood sugar. But I didn't think that that's what was happening. I thought that I was just highly anxious. I thought that I was just having like some severe anxiety. And so my beliefs and interpretation about the event was basically, I was feeling that way, and my thoughts were going that way because that was anxiety. Like, it felt like anxiety. Like, I physically felt like tense, and I felt just kind of mentally irritable, grouchy, just needing to be isolated because I couldn't really stand to be around anybody else because I was so agitated. And just like my mind was just like flooded with like all these memories about like some social awkwardness. But in all reality, I'm like, that wasn't a big deal. Like, nothing really went wrong, and nothing really happened that was like that embarrassing. But in my head, that's what I thought was happening. So that was kind of my beliefs and my interpretation of the event. And because I thought it was anxiety, I was trying to address the anxiety. And I was like, so the consequence of my belief that, hey, this is just pure psychological anxiety. I'm just worried about how I feel about some of my friends, or how I, you know, like I wasn't even aware that I was like having any kind of insecurity about any other stuff. I just thought I'm embarrassed because I acted awkwardly around some friends, and now I'm anxious that other, that these people are going to think weird about me, even though like I wasn't much more awkward than I normally am. And my friends are used to me being kind of like quirky and awkward, so it's like whatever, it wasn't really a big deal. But yeah, those were kind of my beliefs around it. And the consequences were that I was trying to manage the anxiety, so I was doing things like breath work, and that's why I went towards like journaling, and just kind of reaching out for like anxiety support. But then it took me until later, and this was more of like a practical thing. It wasn't really like purely an emotional thing. I think it was more of like a practical thing, that I was like, okay, I'm not eating properly. If I had eaten properly in the first place, I probably wouldn't be having these experiences. Like I probably wouldn't have been feeling, physical and emotional and mental discomfort if I had eaten a proper meal. So if I go back to something that has to go with disputations of beliefs, challenging beliefs, creating new consequences, I did learn that, like, yeah, I can't just flat out cut out carbs. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I think, I'm going to end up having to request to be, like, engaged with, like, a nutritionist through my healthcare, or somebody, like, a holistic type of nutritionist, or somebody who kind of knows about nutrition, and can like guide me in what to eat and stuff, so I'm not just like at random just like choosing to like not eat certain stuff that I might need to actually be eating. Yeah, and then the effective new beliefs, because it's more of like a practical thing. It's like that kind of situation can be resolved solely by eating. I mean, yeah, there was anxiety. Yeah, there was some embarrassment. Yeah, there was some social anxiety. Yes, there was some irritability and grouchiness and all that kind of stuff that needed to be managed. But ultimately, what was going on is I didn't eat properly. And the reason I didn't eat properly is because I am, working on my health and trying to like, cut out things that are going to lead to, some kind of like, I'm not trying to like make my A1C levels worse. I'm trying to have, more like supplements with like iron and potassium and B vitamins and like all these types of vitamins that I need for myself, for my health. But I don't really know what I'm doing. I kind of hear people like, oh, like, yeah, carbs are bad. And so I was like, okay, so let me just cut out the carbs. But it's like, I'm pretty motivated to do this, but at the same time, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I'm like, I can't afford to have days like that where I'm like 7 hours of the day, I just can't function. Like, that's not going to work for me. You know what I mean? That's not going to be okay. It's not going to turn out well at all. And so, yeah, like, I'd say, adoption and implementation of new adaptive beliefs. Maybe I need to be more open-minded and brave about asking for the support that I need, because I don't know what I'm doing, and try to get some education and guidance around like what I actually need to do for my physical health. Because I feel like after engaging with these doctors and things, I've been able to figure out, or we've been able to kind of figure out like what areas need improvement, but how to improve in those areas, that's what I don't really know. Like, they say things, diet and exercise. Okay, how much exercise and what does this diet look like? Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to actually be doing. I was able to register for a program that's supposed to be supportive for that, but it turns out the program doesn't start until December, and it's August right now. And, also, not only does the program not start until December, but I'm not gonna know yeah, it's not only is it not gonna start, but I don't really know what to do until then, and I mean, with the little bit of changes I've made here and there, I have noticed some results. And so I'm like, okay, I've noticed a little bit of results. Like, I've figured out basically how to improve my morning time energy, how to stay motivated, how to just like yesterday I kind of screwed it up because I drank coffee like midday, and so it made it harder for me to sleep. So this morning I am energetic because of the coffee, but I'm also kind of like a little bit tired because I was up later than I had intended, and I think I woke up a couple times. But anyways, that's kind of mostly what I have to say. That's kind of a weird, different kind of example, I guess, of how these things can be applied. Just kind of learning from things that maybe don't go too well and trying to kind of more accurately address them to see if I can improve on how I feel. So with that, that's kind of all I've really got to say about that, and thanks for listening.